Panpsychism is the position that mentality, or at least some mind-like property, is a fundamental feature of nature. I think Panpsychism is an interesting position because it's really an incomplete idea. It needs further context in order to be understood. And I think there's a few ways to interpret Panpsychism. I think there is a standard way, which would be as a form of property dualism. And in this sense, to say that mentality is a fundamental feature of reality, you need to qualify what that reality is consisting of. And I think normally panpsychists take or accept that reality is essentially constituted by matter or by some physical substance. It's merely that this physical substance has a mind-like property necessitated into it. That's ultimately a physicalistic view, which is a bias towards the objectivist perspective. Another way that we can interpret panpsychism is as a form of neutral monism, where we take reality to be grounded in a single category of substance, but that substance is not material and it's not mental. In fact, mental and physical properties are emergent, they come later. I think that there's some value in the idea of neutral monism when it's qualified, but I also think that it's really incompatible with panpsychism, because if you're accepting that the fundamental substance is neither mental nor material, then you're denying that mentality is a fundamental feature of the fundamental substance. Third, you can interpret panpsychism as a form of double aspect theory, or dual aspect theory, or dual aspect monism. And this is similar to neutral monism, but instead of denying that the fundamental substance has itself mentality and physicality, dual aspect theory accepts that these dual aspects, the mental and physical, are necessary expressions of this fundamental substance. And I think in that sense, panpsychism can hold, but in paraphilosophy this would be biased towards the abjectivist perspective, which seeks to look beyond the distinction between mind and matter at a more fundamental substance. And this kind of dual aspect monism, I think the best example I can think of it is Jung and Pauli's theory that reality is grounded in the psychoid, which has a mental and material aspect. But I think, again, this isn't entirely compatible with paraphilosophy because it's really an upward perspective on the distinction between mind and matter. In other words, mind and matter are grounded in something neutral in a sense that is completely disconnected with consciousness. It's a kind of like the simulation theory or the Matrix, you can imagine. And I think that this view disregards half of the story, which is that mind and matter have representation only within conscious experience. And if you're grounding reality in some sort of objective substance, that substance really can be information that's entirely unconscious. So I think if dual aspect monism can be regarded as at all true, it's only somewhat true in relation to its complementary viewpoint. So if dual aspect monism is like a upwards perspective of non-duality, where mind and matter are projected upwards out of chaos or nothingness, this is really like a complementary perspective to the downward perspective on non-duality, which grounds the distinction between mind and matter not in something that's completely unconscious and outside experience, but the source or root of experience itself, which is just conscious awareness. Paraphilosophy would describe reality as a harmony between these two perspectives: the upward perspective of objective dual aspect theory and the downward perspective of superjective neutral monism. And it's the harmony and interaction between nothing and everything, or the deep unconscious and the light of consciousness, that projects inwards and creates this dualistic experience that we have between mind and matter. So I think the answer to the question basically is panpsychism is not necessary. It's a concept that is useful to provide an answer to a problem that doesn't actually exist. And that problem is, how does mentality arise in a physical universe? And if we don't accept that the universe is fundamentally physical, then the problem fades away quite easily.